Hey, everybody. On this episode of the NerdBrand Podcast, we touch on the always trendy topic, search engine optimization, SEO. We get a lot of questions about that one. And so we want to introduce today's guest, who is a marketer, SEO blogger, and founder of, and make sure I get this right, Regex. Yeah, see, didn't get it right.
Regex SEO.
Thank you, sir. Dmitrii Kustov. Dmitri, dubbed the rock star of SEO by the American Marketing Association. Well done on getting that title. Has over 15 years of expertise in web development and digital marketing. So we want to listen to Dimitri talk about the labyrinth of SEO and give some key tips on some tactful strategies and supporting a brand's target audience. You are, I watched one of your interviews and I loved how you started it, by the way, where you were like, hello, I'm a nerd.
Very much am. Yes, indeed.
I know it's not, before we get into the questions, I kind of want to, I've gotten away from asking this before with some guests, but since you seem to be like one of our people, what is your nerd? what do you nerd out about?
Well, I have a philosophy of life that I kind of stole from Seth Godin. He introduced that idea to me in one of his talks, where basically the point is this: instead of chasing a passion, be passionate about whatever you do. So, to me, I'm always been fairly nerdy and liking numbers and data and all of that stuff. To me, nerd is a compliment, because if you think about it, what is a nerd? Who is a nerd? It's a person who devotes all of their time or a lot of their time to whatever they're very passionate about, or to whatever they're doing, right? So that's combination of those two things. If you're janitor at McDonald's, be the best janitor at McDonald's you can be. If you, I don't know, whatever, doing SEO, content, web development, doesn't matter. Just be passionate about whatever you do. And that's the definition of nerd to me. So yeah, I do consider nerd as a compliment, and with combination of the fact that I love numbers and data, and one of my kind of, not sayings, but it's also reappropriation, is that the word, of another quote by, I forgot the name of the guy. There's a saying that I use now: in God I trust, everybody else bring data. So yeah, there you go. Just makes sense that to call myself a nerd and be proud of it.
You are very much like our Jonathan.
Okay, it sounds like I need to meet Jonathan.
Yeah, I wish. He's a bit busy with, I think Noah is 4 and Emma's now 2, so his life is ruined for the next 3
years. Just blessed with children.
Wow,
children are a blessing.
His life is ruined. Do you have children? Yes, I do. Okay.
Yeah. We went to a board meeting. His office is in, it's like in this attic in the small house that he rents, and all of a sudden we're on this meeting, and then I see him do this. He kind of disappears.
Yeah.
What happened? And he's like, Noah discovered doorknobs.
I see.
I had and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but we were in a meeting one time, and I just see a blue speck, like just approaching the camera on Zoom, and it looked like a pool noodle. And I was like, what is that? And I can't contain myself. So I start laughing, and it's his son, Noah, about to poke the camera with the pool noodle.
Yeah. So I found a way. My office is in the basement, and the door locks, so people can get in. There you go.
I have beads for my basement, just like a little thing of beads. So I need a door. That's some good advice.
There you go.
I live alone and have a living room, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But we have actually a saying that we kind of co-opted from Will Wheaton. It's not about what you love, it's how you love it. And
pretty much similar. Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Yep. And we embrace that. When I met John, John's not into like comic books and movies, and I'm a big I'm a big movie guy, period. Like I like cinematography. I like how stories are told, which I should, given what we do. But, Mitch is actually our creative director. He's the gamer. He's the oldest in the group, but he's the gamer, and he loves kaiju and Ultraman and the comics, old Marvel comics. And so all of us, even Kayla, we all have a thing, but John didn't. When I first met him, he was concerned, like, I don't know if this will fit for me with the name. And I'm like, yeah, but you're passionate about data and outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. So, and then he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
His analytic brain went turning and it was like, burp. All right.
Yep.
Fell into a bucket. So one of the questions I wanted to start and ask you was, how do you approach optimizing a website, its content for search engine and users? I know that's a very elementary question, but I figured that would be a good place to start.
Yeah. Well, in order to optimize for search engine and users, those are in a sense a little bit not that they are incompatible, but you do it in a different way. In general, SEO consists of four main things, and especially in the last couple of years, Google has been putting more and more efforts on user experience, so they start to merge very well together. In SEO, there are four main ingredients, what we call, or sections, or whatever we want to call them, categories. Content, obviously, if you're not talking about puppies on your website, you can't rank for puppies. So obviously content, number one. Then it is user experience. And there's a lot of multiple things there. We separate user experience in the sense of how easy it is to find whatever people are looking for, how quickly they can find answers for whatever they're looking for. So that's kind of like all of that stuff. And then in addition to that, which we split, is technical user experience. So how fast things load, how well they look on mobile, things of that nature. And then the fourth one, which is one of the most misunderstood ingredients of SEO, is backlinks. Very easy way to understand it. Well, backlink is a link from any third-party website to your site. Why it's important? It's the same as recommendations of your friends or people you know which restaurant to go to. So whenever you need advice, you ask around. It's like, hey, where should I go? What restaurant is good? And the more people point to that one restaurant, the more likely you're going to go there. Google, the same thing. The more websites point to your site, that's how they judge. So those are the four ingredients of SEO. You tick all of them. The check boxes for all four, you are good.
Yeah, I appreciate you defining that and breaking that down, because quite often it's I've heard before, like, well, I need SEO content, and I'm like, there's no such thing.
Can't just go to a store and grab it off the shelf like a box of cereal and throw it in the cart. But I do like how you used it as an analogy, like it's like you say, ingredients, like you're about to create something out of it.
When I was looking for the company name, I wanted to call the company SEO Kitchen, but unfortunately it was taken. Because we cook things up in here, like dash of content, pinch of backlinks, you're good. And there are recipes that are more successful than others, and all of that stuff. So it would be very easy branding direction, but unfortunately it was not. It was already taken.
Yeah, I had that happen to me back with the first company I started. It just dealt with WordPress, custom WordPress development, which I still do as a WordPress developer. But I wanted to call the company Untangled Web, and then there was about 20 of them.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I kind of figured if I had the idea, hundreds of people have had it too. That always happens. But but it's you land on sometimes where you should be, not where you want to be, and so seems to work out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it goes back to that idea of don't chase the passion, be passionate about whatever you do, right? However you do it, whatever you do, just do your best, and that's it. That's all it's going to take. Rome hasn't been built in one day type of idea. And I can talk about branding and everything else for days straight. So let's not go there today, I guess.
No, you're in good company. We all know that it's an anchor. At least that's how we feel about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. I'll ask you the next one then. What factors do you consider when conducting keyword research that allows you to beat your competitors to the punch?
That question is a little bit it needs to be rephrased a little bit. So it's not necessarily about keywords or keyword research and how to beat competitors to the punch. The way I approach it is this: what is the most beneficial for the business itself? Because if you look at competition, the brands are different. The goals of the business might be different. So you always have to put it through a filter of what is the most important for your business in your location, in your area, and so on and so on and so on. So if you have two, let's say, home services companies that work on air conditioning, in one area, heating might be very prevalent, northern states. But in Texas, nobody knows what heating means. So you can't do the same keyword research for multiple different companies in the same manner, or even, for example, where you're located. If you are located in a big city, let's say Houston, where there's, I don't know, I think last time we checked, there's like 700 air conditioning companies in Houston. Wow. Versus you're located somewhere in the middle of nowhere, small town, and you're the only one, then again, approach will be different, because you can kind of automatically rank just by existing. My advice is always to obviously look at search volumes and all of that stuff, search how many people search for the specific keywords, and what the competitive difficulty is, how many other companies are trying to rank for that stuff. Sure, but at the end of the day, what matters the most to me is the value for the business. And it's quite easy to extract or attach monetary value to it. For example, again, we work with a lot of home services companies, like air conditioning and stuff. Let's say air conditioning repair might have way more volume, and it does typically, but for the business it brings in a few $100s of revenue, versus AC unit installations or replacements that the volume is maybe 10 times lower, the search volume, but for the business it's 100 times more profit, or 50 times, whatever it is. So you kind of combine those two metrics and the decisions become much clearer. So that would be my advice pretty much for any business owner or marketer or SEO out there. Stop chasing the numbers. And there's so much stuff like chasing the numbers from the search volume perspective. Like, what is HVAC? Has some like 170,000 annual searches. But as a business, local business, what's that going to do for you if you rank for it? Nothing, literally nothing. So why would you spend years and years trying to rank for that, invest in resources that will not have literally any value for a local business?
Yeah. See, I see that a lot. So that question was from, that's for, well, I'm not going to name them. You know who you are. And then, so yeah, do you know what the population number is? You're in Houston, right?
I'm between two cities. I lived in Houston for like 12 years, something like that. Now, this last year, at the end of the year, we moved to New Hampshire, about an hour from Boston. So I'm kind of between two states at the moment, but eventually we are moving to New Hampshire fully.
Okay, yeah, that's not a small move. It's just across the street.
Yeah, yeah. Not to get all philosophical on everybody who is listening or watching. Happiness is the key. Doesn't matter. Make what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. I talk to so many people that are saying, I wish this and I want that. And they complain about things. At the end of the day, not doing anything about it. Well, either shut up or put up, right? So
yes,
either do it.
Sounds like you're
or
channeling
stop,
my father. Jeez, man.
or either do something about it, right? And that's the thing too. You don't have to make drastic changes in the life, but do something about it. Yeah. Like I hate heat. Like in Houston, there's only 2 seasons, hot and very hot. So I could not survive there. Humidity is 80% or higher typically. It's like being in the sauna, right? So I complained for 10 years? No, not 10 years. Whatever long. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? Like we can do something about it, and we can move. We've talked about things like doing basically digital nomads type of living, especially after COVID, during COVID, where maybe we go in winter somewhere else, or sorry, in summer somewhere else, in winter go back to Houston. But anyway, just do something about it, because otherwise, if you're not happy at work, if you're not, it's gonna affect personal life. And then there's just so much there that affects from every kind of direction.
Yeah, I would imagine that affects when as we're talking about like SEO, like this profession.
Yeah,
you're not happy. Imagine you moving, and I may be skipping a question, Michaela. Sorry, because I think it's a good point to kind of bring up in this vein. Like, what I found is the same thing with certain folks. I sit on certain boards,
yeah,
and there's always some members. He watches the show and listens, so he knows who he is. I love the guy, but he just seems angry, and he just maybe just really, really passionate. I haven't quite figured out which yet, but it's like it starts to affect your ability to do the job that you love to do.
Yeah.
So,
and it's definitely circular. Work. Your mood in general will affect how you are in personal life. Personal life affect how you are at work. Your work will affect your personal life, and just go back and forth, and then it sounds like a spiral. Which way? That is only up to you. You can spiral up, or you can spiral down. SEO is not for everybody, in a sense, like for every business. Social media is not for every business. So you need to, and just a lot of education to business owners and stuff like that. But for sure, there are better, more efficient ways, or there is a most efficient way to go about it. And like if you are, I don't know, in some kind of oil and gas little gears production, like nobody ever goes to Google and types in, whatever the gear for some kind of oil and gas equipment is. It's all still very much old style handshake industry. Yep. So you kind of have to pick and choose. And then same thing for social media. In home services, it's very difficult to do anything on social media. Nobody shops for AC unit on Facebook.
But, no, say it ain't true.
but if you're some kind of I don't know, like let's say food restaurant, like a local spot, social media is your game. Nobody again will go to Google and type in, I don't know, fried chicken Houston, whatever. That's not how it works. I mean, sure, some people might, but that's not how you're going to get the best results.
Yeah.
Michaela, you want to take a shot at a few questions for our guest?
Sure, yeah. So, all right. How do you approach website structure and navigation to optimize for SEO and user experience?
Okay, so I'm kind of glad that you circled back. It's otherwise this podcast would be not about SEO. All right. So, kind of a little bit elaborate on the very first question: difference between doing SEO for users versus search engines. Users care about getting the answers to the questions, which is kind of also answering the question that you just asked.
Mm-hmm.
Navigation, website structure, all of that stuff. Whenever, as a marketer, as a designer, web designer, as a business owner, whenever you build a website, whenever you create a website, create it in a way that first, literally every page, the top of the page, maybe first couple of viewports, what we call, right? The viewport, for people who don't know, is basically whenever you load a website, what you see on the screen, that's one viewport. And as you scroll down, the same amount of height screen, that's the second viewport, right? So make sure that the first couple of viewports answer users' questions. They're not for SEO, they're not for search engines, they are for users. So however people get to those pages, and you should know how they get it from tracking all of the stuff, you need to be able to put yourself in user shoes. Don't build website what you think works. Look at the data. Make sure that all of the decisions are based on data, and then answer those questions. So a couple examples, since again, we're talking about home services and stuff and air conditioners. What typical question a person who is looking for air conditioning repairs asking? Usually it's, how much is it going to cost me? So have an answer very clearly. Can you come out today? Or, do you have like 24/7 some kind of service? Have an answer there. It could be, and you can get creative. You don't have to literally say like FAQs. It doesn't have to be like FAQs. It could be in the title of the page. It could be for SEO optimized even. It could be the H1 could be something like I don't know, around the clock AC repair in Houston, something like that, right? And then subtitle H2 could be, or even in H1 you can say affordable, or you can even put the actual dollar amounts, under $200 guarantee, whatever, right? So answer users' questions in the top couple of viewports. Structure the website that people can find the other answer of so that users can find answers to other questions they might have. For example, obviously there should be a very clear call to action. How do you want people to contact you? Don't fit them. Don't force them, users, to only use one way or the other. So a lot of companies that we work with, because they're used to working by phone, that's all they have. Like, call us today. Well, 21st century, 2023, what about live chat? What about social media messengers? What about texting? What about what we call like a live booking, where you can just go through this questionnaire, what service are you interested in? This, what's your availability of this, and so on, right? So like direct live booking. And that's the whole idea of designing and designing websites, creating websites, marketing websites for users versus search engines. Top of the page should be answering questions for users always.
Yeah.
Because most people do not scroll past first two viewports. And keep in mind that viewports is screen and monitor dependent. If, like, I have a 27-inch monitor, my viewport is way bigger. But if I'm on the mobile phone, the viewport becomes much smaller. So keep that in mind also as you're doing all that stuff. But after those, you answer all of the main questions for the users, then you can build the rest of the page for search engines. Because search engines, they read the entire page, they crawl the entire page. For them, it doesn't matter if all the SEO text is at the bottom of the page. Obviously, make sure that it still is good content and in certain perspective helps users. If anybody wants to read more about it, you don't make it just like a giant wall of text that looks horrible. But that's typically what we recommend. Top of the page, very good user experience. And then after that, you can start using SEO text and stuff like that. I believe that Google hasn't really changed in the last 10 years, more, like about 15 years. Their goal was always the same. Their goal was always and will be always the same, providing the best results in the fastest time possible. That's it. And if you start wrapping your head around that, everything else falls into place. Because, everybody's talking, well, all these Google algorithm updates and Penguin update and all of the old ones and all this stuff and all of that. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to get to providing the best possible answer for users. Because if Google all of a sudden, you type in puppies and they show you pictures of cats, you're going to stop using Google, right? So it is in their nature to be the most accurate, the best one. That's why they introduced Google Local Services ads. That's why they introduced the Google Maps thing, and the 3-pack. They introduced those what we call zero position searches, where if you type in something like, when was George Washington born, instead of showing you a link to Wikipedia, they just tell you right away. Because for the users, that is the most efficient, quickest way to get an answer. Or if you do like how to cook something, whatever dish, right? They'll just give you the steps right there. So when you keep that in mind, Google has never changed. They're just making adjustments. And if instead of trying to hack the system, you understand it and apply everything from there, like 10 years ago, black hat spam links or like black hat link building was big things. Like, I just buy this bunch of links and I rank number 1 tomorrow. Yep. But that's not the point. It's if your content is crap, Google eventually gonna bust you. So yeah, you can hack it for maybe next 2 months or a year, and if you're lucky for maybe a bit longer. But there's so many examples of people in SEO industry that have been well known because they were able to get results, whatever that's supposed to mean, which is a whole different conversation about what is proper result for SEO, which I believe is not rankings. I mean, it's obviously you have to rank, but that's not the point. The point is what we call it. It's organic channel or organic marketing revenue generation. Who cares if you rank number 1, but for the business you make $0? I have never met a business owner that said, you know what, we had to close our company down because we did not have any revenue and we were losing money left and right. But our SEO company was so super awesome and they made us rank on the first page. Like, I've never seen those reviews, right? So if it doesn't generate revenue for the business, that's not the point. And if you understand that, that's what Google wants. Google wants to provide the best results for the users in the quickest way possible. And then just everything else falls from there. From loading speeds, why Google starts adding the web core vitals and stuff like that. Because again, if one website loads in 1 second and another website takes 3 minutes, not which one is faster, right? If user navigation is horrible and you can't find their phone number on the website, same thing there. Just everything falls into this place of making sense.
On the topic of website and that nature, what about the URL? Should that be optimized for search engines and be overall user friendly as well?
User first for me there. It used to be that URLs had way more value for SEO rankings, but I never was a supporter of just keyword stuffing in there. To me, it's more about how, again, does it help user? And really nowadays, especially because you can have those it's like a name of the URL where you go to when you do Google search, instead of showing the full URL. What in a lot of cases now, it shows you the domain name and then little like a arrow thing, like a what you call it,
carrot.
like a carrot. There you go. And then it shows the name of the page instead of the URL of the page. So that's more prevalent because that's not how you make decisions really as a user. You would typically look at the meta title, like the blue thing on the Google, on the blue text, right, on the Google results page, and you would get, does it match what you're looking for? And then maybe a little bit there is bias towards certain domain names, but if anything, that part is more about branding for me. Because like if you don't know what Nike is and you see Nike, are you going to click on it? Probably not. But if you know what it is, then you're going to click on it, right? So sure. It's more about branding. So you can call company whatever you want, as long as people are aware of who you are and know the brand, then URLs don't matter that much, at least in my mind.
I appreciate your answer. I'm glad we included that one because I've had that one like 3 times in the past month. They were worried about the domain name being too long. I'm like, nobody's typing out something.com. I mean, it's first of all, it's kind of risky because you never know what may come up after you hit the enter if you don't spell things right.
Yeah, I would say that there's a little bit of that, like, and obviously that's going to be for much bigger companies. Short names matter, sure. Again, Nike, whatever else. But if you're a small business, most people will not be typing in the domain name directly. They're going to be just Googling their company name, and they just click on the first link, basically. Which, there's really quickly side note, make sure that you have Google Ads for your own brand name if your competitors are bidding and running PPC ads against your company name, because people usually don't think, they just click on the first link and you can get screwed that way.
That's a good point to bring up about with the ads, the tactics. A lot of people think about, I'm going to do ads to get found or advertise, obviously, but they don't think that you can use it as a counter tactic to compete. Yep. Like, because we've done that with geofencing. We'll geofence a competitor's brick and mortar.
Right. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something to watch for. But
yeah, I think, but a little side note, I'm going to yell at you a little bit. I think geofencing is a curse word because it has so much almost like magical thing to it.
Yep.
Everybody who's listening, geofencing is just location targeting. That's it.
Yeah. I used to call it programmatic advertising, and it still comes out of my mouth that way because it kind of covers the whole thing as far as the different scopes of data that you're using to get. It's just, it's a magic word here.
All it is just location targeting. That's it. Yeah. Because like we get quite a few people who reach out to us, businesses, and they say, you do ads and stuff, and like, hey, can you do geofencing and location targeting for me? It's like, wait, you just said the same thing. Geofencing is location targeting, and just to choose where you want to show your ads or not show your ads. That's it.
Yeah. Michaela, we want to do a couple more and then we'll close.
So how do you monitor and analyze websites' performance or SEO performance? And are there any sort of metrics that you factor in over others?
Sure. Yeah. So depending on what position you're in, as in the company, if you're marketing director, the metric is going to be different. If you are SEO content specialist, metric is going to be different. But in general, here's what I recommend for any marketer that works with SEO or any business owner. So first and foremost is preferably direct revenue from SEO, if not at the very least number of leads. And for a lot of companies, don't forget that you have to have a way to track number of calls, where they come from, because otherwise you'll never know what kind of ROI you're getting. So typically what we do is revenue, number of calls or leads altogether, calls and forms and whatever else, direct live, what is it called, direct bookings, whatever else. That's kind of like for the business side. Then for SEO itself, you could use number of visits to the website, but to me, it's a secondary metric. It's a byproduct, right? And again, if you don't make any revenue, if it's not really doing anything for the business, who cares if you get 1 million visits a day? So a revenue, number of leads, then number of website visits, and then after that, it goes into SEO metrics itself. So what we call visibility, online visibility, SEMrush, they call it online visibility, which is a SEO tracking tool. Ahrefs, they call it something similar, some kind of, there's basically like a percent, they express it in some kind of percentage, almost like an online market share. Some tools call it voice share. So basically, out of 100% of searches that are happening in your area for the keywords that your business services or product that your business provides, out of 100%, how much you are showing up for, right? So that's pretty good. Average ranking position. So are you ranking on the first page, which should be 10 or lower, right? There's 10 search results per Google page. So average ranking position across all of the keywords you are tracking. And you can also look at the number of keywords, but be very careful. So typically what I say is this. It's not the number of keywords you're ranking for, but what keywords you're ranking for, because that's more important. In the previous example, if you're ranking for what is HVAC, and that's not going to do anything for a local business. Instead of looking at month over month, I typically recommend looking at year over year, because that removes any seasonality, seasonality differences and seasonality jumps. So compare your metrics year over year, not just month over month. And I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, Dmitri, I want to give you, Dmitri, the floor to promote yourself, tell people where they can go find you. And if you don't mention your Twitter handle, I'll be sad.
Yeah. All right. Well, so the company is Regex SEO. Regex is for regular expressions. That's a mathematical and coding term. So regexseo.com. That's our company. And if anybody would like to talk to me directly, you can find me on really LinkedIn and Twitter are my two main social platforms where I am. And my handle is Digital Spaceman. The reason is we were based out of Houston, and our brand is space themed because it just fits, exploration, achieving new heights, going beyond horizon. So like we are like spaceman, but we are digital spaceman. So yeah, add Digital Spaceman on social media. And to kind of conclude this podcast, to all business owners or people who want to or afraid of SEO, it's not black magic. It's, if you understand it, it's much simpler than you might think. It's not easy, but it's simple. They always say it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Like rocket science is that difficult. But if you understand it, it's not easy to no degree, but it's actually simple. If you understand the core, it's simple. So reach out to me with whatever questions, and I can help you understand it if you have troubles. So yeah, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's been a pleasure, and we should reconnect again.
Yeah, I feel like
absolutely.
We could dive down a lot of rabbit holes because of the interests that we have that are in business and out. Like Mitch loves space. I get messages from him whenever they're launching. SpaceX is doing a thing, and
Oh yeah,
I'm just like, all right,
who doesn't?
I'll go look.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad to have people in your arena on the show in SEO, especially because previous shows we've had Jason Bernard talk about branded search. So having somebody else that's more in the realm that you're in and what you do, I'm hoping really is helpful for people that will watch this or listen to this, especially for the HVAC folks that are here in Louisville, because it's going to get really hot here soon.
Yep.
So I'm just dropping a hint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Anyways,
we work with mostly home services companies. So if you are one of those, reach out.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Dimitri, for being on here. And, we'll catch you next week.
We want to thank our listeners to this episode of the NerdBrand Podcast. You can check out this episode and future ones at nerdbrandagency.com/podcast, or head to Apple Podcast or Spotify app and search for NerdBrand and download and subscribe. We'll see you next week, and remember, keep your nerd brand strong.